We have another caller, Viswanath from Texas. Hi, Viswanath. Welcome to the show. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ms. Sheela. It's great to see you on TV. Great to hear from you. My question is very simple. There are thousands of immigrants in U.S. Who have their legal visas here, and they are staying here. And the current immigration process says that you have to periodically go back to your country and stamp your visa again and then come back. I mean, Murthy Law Firm is such a big one, and I'm sure your voice counts a lot than any other person here. So I felt as an individual here in the U.S. that it doesn't make any sense that people have to go back to their country to get a U.S. visa here. Do you believe that this can change? And is Murthy Law Firm able to do anything about this to the government here?
Thank you, Viswanath, for your question, for your comment. I appreciate it. And we certainly want to, have been responding and in fact provided very strong comments with respect to removing barriers to legal immigration. But just so I make this very clear, Viswanath, there is nothing under US immigration law which requires any person who is physically, legally in the United States to have to step out of the United States to get a visa stamp from abroad just to come back. Now, if you anyway want to go to visit your family or your friends or for a wedding or some other personal family issue, and you don't have a multiple entry visa stamp in your passport, then the person is required to travel abroad to apply for a visa stamp in the passport. Otherwise, for example, if you have a 3-year H1 approval, Viswanath, and you get another extension of 3 more years, and then by the time your employer has filed your PERM or labor certification or I-140 approval, you can get another 3 more years and 3 more years of H1 extension within the US. You do not need to step out of the US to stay legally, to continue to work legally, and to stay here until you get your green card, which could take 5, 10, 15, 20 more years. But there is absolutely no legal requirement to step out of the US. The only requirement is when the USCIS determines that a person has violated the status, is not maintaining valid legal status, then they will approve the H1 without the I-94 card attached to the bottom of the approval notice, right? Because they cannot grant you the extension because they're saying you're not in status. Only in those cases is the employee, H1B worker, required to go out to clean up the having fallen out of status issue. Otherwise, there is no legal requirement under US immigration law for anyone to step out of the US.
Thanks, Ms. Sheela. But, you mentioned those reasons where we have to travel outside and get the stamp. And one of them being like if we have to visit parents or friends back in India, for example, to get the stamp. But, when I'm in your country as a foreigner, isn't it easy just to give me an extension along with the stamp and passport here? Why are people have to get the stamp elsewhere, which belongs to your country, and I'm in your country already? Why should people get stamped there rather than just getting stamped here, even for renewals and everything, even if I have to go to visit somebody?
Yeah, so before we used to do that, it used to be called automatic visa revalidation, the AVR rule. It used to be done prior to September 11th. 2001, Viswanath. It was routinely done where we would just send the passport when the visa stamp got renewed. We would send it to Washington, D.C. and get it renewed. But unfortunately, what happened, because those crooks, the hijackers, the thugs really messed it up by doing criminal and illegal activities, and they were granted visas. They didn't want people like that to be able to terrorists and other people. So the requirement under the Homeland Security Act and other federal legislation was every few years, make sure that if someone steps out of the US, because why are they going out? If they're trying to come and, gather whatever, do illegal things abroad, we want to be the consular officer, US consular officer is required to look the person in the eye, interview them, ask them what they've been doing with their time, either abroad or in the US. So you make a valid point. It is how it always was for decades, for centuries, where we were always able to do the visa restamping or revalidation within the United States. But after September 11, the entire country changed. Our entire legal system changed. Immigration was no longer part of the US Department of Justice. We switched to US Department of Homeland Security, Viswanath. Everything became about security, protecting the homeland, making sure that we would not be bombed out of existence, which is, I think, reasonable. And as happened in India, after the November incidents in Mumbai, that version, that India's version of 9/11, November of, I think the following couple of years later, their whole laws in India also have similarly changed. So it's required for protection of the country. So at this point, I would say it is what it is at this point. You make a valid point and the government says, then don't step out. Call your family to visit, call your friends to visit, but don't go out, because if you go out, we have the right by law and we are required by law to interview you in person. Now, remember this also, Viswanath, according to the latest policy, the US Department of State allows you not to attend a personal interview. You can mail your documents through the travel.state.gov. And as long as your visa has not expired for more than 48 months ago, which is 4 years, within the past years, you don't need a visa appointment or an interview to get stuck. In majority of the cases, you can just mail it and they are mailing back the approvals, unless they have fraud issues, security issues, or they believe you're not eligible anymore for the H-1 because of various reasons under the law.
Thanks. I hope that answered your question, Prabhakar.